Hey guys, Gavin Heggs here from Twisted Moto, Australian Moto Coach. Hey guys, Gavin Heggs here from Twisted Moto, Australian Motocross Coach. Today we're arrived here at Willowbank MX, and we're going to go through some of the maintenance inspections that you should look at when you ride frequently, and to be able to run you through some of the step-by-step things that you could do, starting with the very, very basic of how to put the bike on the stand. So a couple of different options here. You can come in from the side, get the bike alongside the stand, and put your one foot in front of the other. Be able to grab a certain side where you feel comfortable with. For me, I feel most comfortable on this side here on the left. Grab the rear of the bike, whether it be at the bottom here on the back end of the bike where the pipe is. Obviously, you don't want to do this when the bike's hot. There is sometimes some handles in here where you can grab to be able to lift the bike up, or you can grab in between where the rear fender meets the side plastic there to be able to lift. From here, you're basically trying to use that inside knee to flick up onto the stand to be able to get that bike onto a bit of a pushing angle, so you can start to get that frame onto the top of the stand. So it sort of looks a bit like this.
Very good.
Maybe take your phone out your pocket next time so that it doesn't crush your leg as well. You definitely don't want it sitting on the linkage like that, so I'm going to have to give it another crack there. The phone definitely, I'm going to blame that. Okay, the second way, probably my most referred to, definitely a preference for me. Coming in from a bit of an angle here, normally put the front wheel in line with the stand on a bit of a diagonal. The rear wheel is slightly hanging out from the side. And what you're going to do here when you lift it is you're going to put the front on the ground, pivot the back onto the stand so you get the frame onto the top of it. And then by grabbing this, you are grabbing it from the rear wheel. So holding onto the top of the rear fender, hooking your hands into the middle of the spokes here, making sure you get a firm grip. Bend with your knees, keep it straight back, and on like that. So it might be good to grab yourself a nice small little table that you can put your stuff on. So that way when you're doing your inspections and being able to go through some of your maintenance items, at least you can put it on there and not have everything scattered all over the floor. So nice little table there that we can put our stuff on. For me, I'm gonna grab a couple of torque wrenches. I know the sizes that I'm going to need to be able to do these inspections. So 8mm is generally what we'd use for the levers. Got the torque wrench set for plastics at the moment. You can find all your torque specs through your manuals. And I definitely think that each bike is going to have a different torque spec. For me today, I'm borrowing a KTM 300 two-stroke, so I'm going to have to relook those up, not to my knowledge of what they would be. So got the 10mm and a 13mm for the chain adjustments, and the 30mm on the torque wrench here for the rear axle nut. So we are here grabbing clean filter, clean air filter, which we'll go through today. We've got the clean cage, air filter oil, some brake and parts cleaner to inspect and clean out that airbox boot area for when we are doing that filter. As we said, going to be using for the axle bolt and the chain adjusters to make sure the chain tightness is all good. And then we'll go through and change some lever positioning. These are just general things that I'd go through, especially when I'm going into a new onto a new bike or something that I haven't rode before. Just making sure all of these items are definitely checked over. I give all the other bolts a bit of a tighten up as well to just make sure, and it's something that you should go over before every ride. Obviously, apart from making sure the bike starts and everything like that, this is something that I'd definitely highly recommend that you go through, just to make sure for your peace of mind that your bike is A-okay and ready to go ride. Alrighty, so first things first, guys, we're going to come across to the side of the bike and have a good look at the filter. So we're going to go into the air filter now. On the KTM here, it's nice and easy. Basically, pop it off like that. See, every other model bike that I've had, you've had a bolt and you've had to undo it and then This KTM is nice and easy, so pull that off there to the side. I've shoved the rag in here because I knew the filter needed cleaning, so obviously didn't want any dirt and grime to get inside this boot here. So normally this would be done at home, but for the purpose of us being able to show a bit of maintenance, if you are in a rush, at least this is getting done before the ride. So I'd recommend that you make sure that, like I said, you block up that air boot with a nice clean rag until you are ready to put the new filter in there. So from here, coming across to the cage. So the cage is what the filter actually sits on, and we want to be making sure that that's nice and clean, because obviously putting a new filter onto that, and then we're putting this into the boot. We don't want any dirt or grime on that in case we are putting that in and it goes inside the engine, which is the last thing you want for when it comes to reliability for your bike. Any dirt that goes inside the engine can potentially cause engine failure. So moving forward into how we prep a filter. Clean this out, you can use a couple of different products. I think Moto have a filter cleaner. There's a couple of different filter cleaner companies that you can go through to get those cleaning kits. Lanotech also do a degreaser called Citraforce, and we have often used in the past kerosene as well. This separates the oil from the filter, and then we rinse it out and clean it with CT18 or truck wash or whatever it is, just to get that final bit out. I normally bang these out, so when I'm doing, just before I'm about to do the filter and put the oil on it, I'll flip it both ways, so you can probably just see there's a couple little specks of sand and stuff like that on the outside of it. So we just want to be making sure we completely bang all of that out, make sure that it's not going to get inside that engine. So we'll give it a little bit of a tap and a bang, and then turn it around, do the same on the other side. Make sure you're completely getting all of this out, give it a bang. So from here, you want to be covering it in filter oil. There's a couple of different brands, Moto, Moto, Bel-Ray. There's a couple of different ones you can use. I like this one here with the Moto, but the Moto one is also really good. Just for ease of use. You can also get the sprays. I'd highly recommend that if you aren't using the spray, or even just in general, use some rubber gloves to be able to mix that oil in. And unfortunately today, I've brought the small ones that don't fit me, so I'm going to be getting my hands dirty today. Unless Grace wants to come along and come through this for me, but she said no. So I'm going to be pouring a little bit of this on, and it's important to make sure that you don't overdo this, because you'll be blocking up the air. As the bike is running, it's basically sucking air through this to be able to operate. So if you over oil this filter, you're going to be restricting the airflow that goes into the engine. So it's probably just a case of being able to pour a little bit on, wring it out, mix it in, and then if it's not enough, it hasn't evenly spread. And as you can see with this, you can see where it's spreading across. You've got the film of blue here, and it's still a little bit of foam on the outside edges. So I'll keep kneading this in and trying to get it spread as much as I can before I decide whether or not I need some more. If it's really, really dark, and when you're wringing it out and you can see all the oil there, you know you've probably got enough there. So just keep spreading that around and trying to make sure that you evenly spread it. And then once you've done that, you should be able to see the whole thing covered in blue. Most of these filter oils are blue, so it gives you a nice clear indication of how much is on there. It is a bit of a process. So, all right, so you can see here, even spread of oil. You can see the oil is doing its job here. You can see it's quite stringy. It's not clunky. There's no big blotches of blue. It's nice and evenly spread inside and out. So if you're purchasing a bike, one of the biggest things to look at when it comes to the maintenance side of things is to see whether or not you have a clean air filter on the bike that you're purchasing. And this is going to be in one of our next videos, so keep an eye out for that one. But yeah, moving forward, so next is putting the filter onto the cage. So every cage is different. With this KTM here, this is the first time I've done this, so bear with me. But seems quite simple, putting the pins over on the slots there. It's probably the first thing that I'd get onto, before then trying to put the rest of the lip over the top of the frame on the cage. so it's going to seal up on the engine boot. And we've got a couple of little clips here. Most of them have these clips here, so alrighty. So that's a nice clean filter there, ready to go into the bike. So basically what I'm going to be doing is removing the rag that I had in there. Because there's just a nice clean rag, I'm just going to give the lip of the boot here a nice little wipe to make sure that it's all clean. It's not too dirty. Alright, I'm going to insert the little pin at the back there. Make sure it's sitting nice and flush here on there. All the edges are inside and sealed up. And pin on that one. There we go. Ready to put the cover back on and jump into the next thing. So this cover here is a little bit tricky. What I remember putting this on, probably want to clean your hands before you do this. As you can see, I'm making a bit of a mess here. That's why you wear gloves. You take them off and then you can put the cover back on. Don't use petrol to clean your filters. It separates the oil, it separates the glue from your filter and it'll tear it to bits. So it's the fastest way to ruin your filters, and probably have to buy a fair few filters if that's the case. So, all right, so next thing, as you can see, we've got a bit of slap here. It's a bit loose. I'm not going to refer to what Ronnie Mack said in his video, but that chain is definitely needing a bit of tight tension on it. So what I'm going to do here is, I can see here 13 and a 10. So we're going to grab we have the spanners here, 10, 13. That's your lock nut. That's your tensioner. First thing before you undo any of those is to make sure you loosen your axle off. So what I've got here is we have the 30mm socket on the torque wrench. So we're going to come around this side here and basically just going to loosen it off so we can get the chain tensioner to Alright, so axle's loose. Next thing is to loosen off the chain tensioner and lock nut. So what I normally do here is, once that lock nut is loosened off, I'm then going to count how many turns I do to extend this chain tensioner here. So we need to count this so that we can make sure we do the same on the other side to keep the wheel straight. So 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to lock that off. Same on the other side here. So I think it was 3 turns, 1, 2, 3. Lock off that nut again. And moving over to here, I'm going to use that rag that I had just before to put it inside the, in between the sprocket and the chain here. Once it's inside there, what you're going to do is you're going to pull back the wheel to be able to get it to certain tension where it's nice and tight. And what this does is it pulls the wheel forward nice and tight onto your chain tensioner bolts there, so that it keeps the wheel nice and straight. If you don't do this, then you might tighten up that axle bolt and the wheel might still be on an angle. So putting this rag into the back of the chain there, pulling it tight, is very important. What you can do is be able to try and make sure it doesn't move. Chuck it into gear and it's locked in position. The next thing is to make sure that your torque wrench is set to the spec for your particular model of bike. This one here, the KTM, so check your owner's manual to make sure that you've got the correct torque spec. Every model is different, every bike's different, so. And how we check this to make sure that it's the correct tension. All right, we've got it in gear, obviously. Chuck back to neutral. take the rag out. Okay. Still a little bit loose there. I like to check it when it's off the stand because that's what tension it's going to be when you're on the bike and when you're riding it. So pull it off the stand here. That's going to put a bit of pressure on it. Not too bad. It's about 3 fingers from the back of the chain guide here. 3 fingers, everyone's finger size is different. It's probably, I'd say nearly 4, so I could probably go a little bit tighter on this one. So I'll go a couple more turns out and try and tighten that up. But yeah, that's sort of running that through the same process again now. Loosening off on the axle and retightening the chain tensioners again. All right, so next is lubing the chain. So we've got some Moto off-road chain lube here. A couple of different ways to do it. Some riders go from the back here and they spray like this. Some riders go from just in the side here of the front countershaft sprocket, and they'll get it in just under there like this, and they can get it on top of the links. Some riders do it in here from this angle here, and everyone's got their personal preference. To be honest, I don't really care where I do it from as long as the chain's getting lubed. So sometimes it's best to stay away from the rear sprocket to make sure that you're not getting on the brake discs there. And then lastly, I'm just going to quickly go through and make sure that my lever positionings are alright. Because normally what I like to look at when I'm setting my lever positionings is whether or not my hands on the handlebars are getting creased to my wrist. So when I'm sitting on the bike or standing in my rider attack position, which you'd learn in some of these other videos that we have, if your hands are creased like this and you're trying to get your hands up like that to get to your levers, often that's going to drop your elbows. If your hands are too far forward like this and you're trying to grab your levers underneath the handlebars, that will throw you too far forward over the bike. So it's important to make sure that you have a straight line from your elbow all the way down to your fingers when you're setting your lever height. And the best way to do this is obviously grab your 8mm to adjust your lever positioning. Just going to quickly do it here on this side so I can just show you. I'm pretty sure these levers aren't too bad actually, so just so I can show you. So what I'm going to do is hop on the bike, make sure it's nice and stable. So you'll see here, the levers drop too low, it brings you forward over the bike too much. If the lever's too high, you can see what it does to my elbow, okay? So setting your lever height is important to make sure that your levers are in a position where you can see, like right now, my hand has a straight line from the end of my finger all the way to my elbow, all right? You see the crease in the wrist here? To set your lever height, it's best to try and get like a little bit of tension on those bolts so that it doesn't move completely. And then that way you can just give it a bit of a tap. Get it into a position where you feel like that's the spot. Nice straight positioning through the elbow to the fingers. And lock it off. I normally don't lock this off completely. I'll normally keep it at least a little bit loose just in case you do have a tip over. It's going to bend the whole lever. It's going to twist on the handlebar rather than snapping the lever off. So just keep them nice and nipped up but not completely tight. So that's a couple of things I'd go through. Last thing, checking the coolants and making sure that over this side here, just make sure that the coolant is just going to pull off. Coolant's pretty good in there. It probably could do with a top up, but I can see it's just above the radiator fins there. You might be able to see it inside there, but as long as it's not empty, but I'd recommend filling it up just to try and make sure that you're staying on top of it. Check it before every ride. And these bloody KTMs, they got child lock on them, so make sure you do the child lock back up again. Sweet, we're good to go riding. Thanks for watching, guys. If you need any more tips, let us know in the comments about what you'd like us to cover next, and looking forward to being able to produce some more on-bike riding coaching tips for you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Send this to a mate who goes out and has his chain slapping like I love down the road.